everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Joni Young, and today I'm going to be showing you step by step how to paint this beautiful secret garden on a 16 by 20 double primed canvas. Here are the colors we'll be using: light ultramarine blue, phthalo blue, turquoise, sap green, neon yellow, titanium white, neon orange, pink, and purple. Taking a large blending brush and quite a bit of turquoise, we're going to cover the entire canvas, and it doesn't matter how you paint it, you just want to get it all covered. Okay, the next step, we're going to take the same brush, white, and some neon yellow, and we'll begin pulling diagonal lines right through the center. These will be the sun rays in the distance. The next color we're using is phthalo blue, and we're going to start tapping that and painting around the sides and all the edges. We're going to softly blend it into the turquoise using a dry mop brush. This is great for blending. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is create some drips for some trees in the distance. Taking phthalo blue and a lot of water on our brush, we're going to squeeze and press the brush on the top of the canvas and let it drip and pour down. And let's put one over here. And then I'm going to pull back and forth across the bottom. Okay, the next few brushes we'll be using is another mop brush, Filbert liner. So let's take neon yellow and white and start placing our staircase. Smaller steps further in the distance, and then they're going to get wider as they come down into the foreground. Now for the shadows on our staircase, I'm going to be using sap green and a little bit of blue. We're going to go right down to the bottom of the canvas, and this will make us feel like we can walk right into the painting. Now I'm going to keep applying highlights to these stairs. As the paint dries a little bit more, I'll be able to layer different colors, and I'm just going to use a variety of pastel colors on my palette. So each one of these colors, I'll add a little bit of white to for those highlights. Now taking my large mop brush, I'm tapping directly into that sap green. I've got quite a bit on my brush to work with, and I'll begin tapping all the foliage that's going to be hanging down on the top of the canvas and the corners. And there'll be little bushes on either side of that staircase, and then we'll be adding bright colors for flowers after. So this sap green is going to be our base color over top of that turquoise and phthalo, and then we'll build up all of our colors from there. Okay, now I've got my little flat brush. I'm going to take some phthalo blue and start pulling across to bring some more color down in my staircase on the shadows. Now, color I forgot to add to my palette and show you guys we'll be using later on in the video will be black. Now I'm going to take my medium-sized Filbert brush and I'm going to pick up more of that sap green, and I want to make it look like there's vines and moss hanging down. So I'm turning my brush sideways, tapping and pulling and flicking lightly. I'm taking a little bit of blue and pulling down another tree trunk right over there. And then I'm just going to continue to add more green wherever I want to have all these leaves and vines hanging. Now taking my light purple violet, a little bit of blue, I'm going to start pulling in some color over here. Mix the two together. If you don't have light ultramarine blue, you can just use regular ultramarine blue and mix it with a bit of white. Okay, time to switch over to my mini fan brush. I'm going to pull into that sap green and make some more vines that look a little bit different, so they're all a little bit different looking and we don't have the same pattern going on. Makes it more interesting to know that we're in a garden with lots of different plants. Mixing some yellow, white, and sap green. We'll add some highlights. And along the stairs. We'll tap lightly, less and less and smaller as we get further up those stairs. So the highlights are going to be the strongest where that archway is. All the plants and flowers that are up there are going to have that nice sunlit glow to them from those sun rays, and then the ones in the foreground closest to us are still kind of in shadow, so they're going to be more subdued. So don't be careful not to over highlight everything. And I just took a bit of white and yellow and pulled in some more rays. Be careful that the paint underneath is almost dry when you do this, otherwise you'll smear your paint too much underneath. Okay, let's build up some more shadow. You can use any dark color on your palette. You can use a little bit of black too if you really want a bold contrast. So in this painting I really wanted my colors to stand out, so I added a little bit of black later on. Now with a clean mop brush, I'm going to take my neon purple violet, mix it with a little bit of phthalo blue, and start building up all the foliage and flowers in this painting. Beginning on the left side, I'm not going to cover all that turquoise underneath up. We still want to have some of that turquoise and blue showing underneath for a nice balance of light and dark. So let's add some over here. Sometimes I'm picking up more of that neon purple violet, and then I'll start picking up some of the neon pink, quite a bit, and you'll see how the end of my brush is looking like it's ruined, but it's not. It's perfect when those are all separated like that. It helps to make those instant flowers so we don't spend hours and hours with a tiny little liner brush doing each one. Just make sure that you remember to wash your brushes out and dry them off very carefully to get that nice shape back to your mop brush. They're very delicate. And we'll use some neon orange. I like to sort of make a rainbow, so at the top of the staircase it's going to be a really light yellow, then it's going to go to a soft orange, pink, bright pink, then the neon purple violet, and then all that blue and turquoise. Now I'm taking more neon yellow, a little bit of sap green, white. We'll add our bright highlights up here. And then add more white to it. And add just a few little highlights down here, not too much. It's going to be subdued down here. We just want to have a little separation so we can see a few little leaves on there. And I'm just using sap green, neon yellow. I'm taking neon purple violet and light ultramarine blue, and I'm blending them across that bottom step. And we'll add a little bit of sap green up here for a little bit more shadow and contrast. So our value in the distance is always going to be much, much softer than it is in the foreground. Taking more of that neon pink and another mop brush. I've got a variety of sizes of mop brushes, so it's a good idea to, when you're getting these, have maybe 3 or 4 different sizes. They really come in handy. So I'm just adding a little bit of white where I want to have a very soft pastel bubblegum pinky color. And then more neon purple violet. This is one of those paintings that you can really have fun expressing yourself with color. You can go a little crazy. As long as you keep it darker on the outside and gradually get lighter towards the center, it's going to look really pretty. Now I've got a little bit of white phthalo blue that I tapped in a few highlights there with. Switching over to a mini fan brush, light purple violet, light ultramarine blue, bit of white, and we'll start tapping in some more. And then sap green. I need a little bit more shadow right here in contrast. Doing this makes everything behind that look a lot softer and further away. It creates some mystery in the painting. It makes us want to know what is up there, where does that lead. Let's add a little bit of yellow down here using the corner of my mini fan brush. Just scooping up yellow, that neon yellow and white, and then pulling in for some more of those soft sun rays. And then tapping for more highlights. I want it to look so soft back there. With all the color and contrast we have around, we need to have a balance. So you need to have that soft tonal value of pastels back there in the distance. So this is my favorite mop brush I'm using now. It's really big. And it's really handy for the big bushes on outside of this painting. So I'm using light purple violet and phthalo blue. And I'm not using any water on my brush at all. The only time I've used a little bit of water, guys, is when I'm doing those sun rays through the center. And it's only if I need it, and it's just the tiniest bit to help pull that paint through and make it look transparent. So I'm building up this purple and blue. Just keep layering and building up the color. More yellow and sap green, a little bit of white. And let's have a big branch that just kind of comes and hangs down here. That's a little bit more mood to the painting, I think. Now I did this painting a little while back, and it was more of a time lapse, and you guys really liked it, and you asked me if I would consider doing it again in a step-by-step version, so that's why Okay, so I want to add a few pastel tones on the highlights on the staircase. You can use whitened neon orange, neon yellow, pink, any of those warm colors, even light purple. Now I'm going to take more of that neon purple violet, take a big scoop of it, and start tapping in where it's going to be darker and more in shadow along the edge of the canvas. And this color here is light ultramarine blue mixed with that neon purple violet. Now some more neon pink. So this video and my last couple videos were actually requests by some of you subscribers. So if you're watching this right now and there's something that you have in mind that you'd like to learn or you'd like to see me paint, leave a comment below and let me know what that is, and I'll do my best to make a video out of it for you guys. I'm going to take a little bit of that black and tap very carefully just a tiny bit underneath these bushes and along the stairs where it's really dark in shadow. This will make those sap green and neon yellow leaves stand out a little bit more, because that sap green is so dark. We need something even darker than that in order for those green tones to show up. I don't often use black in a painting, but sometimes I really need to, and this is one of those times where I had to use it. And with a mini fan brush, I'm going to tap in a few little branches over here with sap green. And add a little bit of neon yellow and white to them. Well, this bottom right corner is just calling for some of that neon purple violet. There, that looks better. Okay, now with a clean brush, I'm going to use turquoise and phthalo blue. And I want to add a little bit more color behind some of these vines and in the background. In order for those sun rays to show up a little bit more, I need it just a little bit darker. So very carefully, I'm going to add a little bit more of that blue. So again, it's phthalo blue and turquoise. In between some of those rays and behind those vines. Oh, maybe there's just a little blue hydrangea that lives right over here. A little bit more of that phthalo blue and turquoise up here. Because as the paint dries, it's getting darker, so I need to go back and add a little bit more highlights here and there. Adding some more sap green. Just going to pull these down a little bit lower. Maybe sneak in another little tree trunk right here. Okay, I'm just about done this foliage. Now there's one spot where it's just a little bit too dark right in here. I want that turquoise in the background to show up a bit more, so I'm going to scumble carefully off with a damp brush. Okay, we're almost finished this painting. We're going to add a little bit of water, light ultramarine blue, and white on our brush, and very softly try to make sure that your paint is dry underneath before you apply these rays. So the reason why you need a little bit of water on your brush is that so that the rays look see-through. They're not solid, and you want to be able to make them look light and hazy and see-through. And then you want to soften them and blend them very lightly. I'm going to reload my brush and do a few more. I'm going to make this one just a little bit thicker. I'm just going to work the end of this one and then like blend it and then dab it off so it looks like it's just kind of disappearing into those bushes. And then retap some of the highlights on those flowers back there using the white and yellow. Well, this painting is just about done. I want to thank you guys so much for watching and joining me again today. Let me know what you think of this. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to my channel for more. I love inspiring you guys weekly with videos, and I wish you guys happy painting. I will see you next time. Thanks everyone. Bye.